Kirby Smart is laying waste to the recruiting landscape and showing that he's going for the jugular in 2020 and 2021. We got to talk about it after the bumper.
Don't be cornering me. Hold up. Time. You got to help me with that corner shit.
What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Consider hitting the like and subscribe button because I upload a video every single day. It's always college football related, sports related. We have a good time. Today, I want to talk about Kirby Smart and just what he has shown over the past 6 months he is willing to do to not just try to win the SEC championship, but to win a national championship at Georgia. And it's been some time since Georgia won a national championship. Without going into the detail about the decades-long drought that it's been for both them and Oklahoma, let's just revisit what Kirby Smart has done since taking over the job at Georgia. One of those things is not only just revamping the defense and turning out a Jim Thorpe Award winner and a Jim Thorpe Award finalist in back-to-back years, but also, can we remember just for a second that he went and stole Scott Cochran away from Alabama? I understand Alabama fans feel some kind of way about this and saying, look, we thought that Scott Cochran was past his prime. We thought that he was over and done, and we were happy to see him out the door, to which I'm going, yeah, okay, sure. If that's such the point there, then why let him go to a place like Georgia? Why not just put him into an administrative role of some sort? I get not wanting to give him an on-the-field coaching position, but if he means what we were led to think he meant, maybe that was a way to go. Either way it goes, Kirby Smart thought it was worth it for Alabama not to have Scott Cochran. If that means he needs to make him the special teams assistant, fine. But anything he can do to try to wound that program, he's going to do. Same thing with getting Jake Fromm to come into Georgia. Now, we could talk about the results at Georgia for Jake Fromm in big games. But one thing is for certain, they were a good football team when he was the quarterback. Now take into account what he's done in recruiting, winning the 2020 recruiting national championship. And then if you look at this running back room he put together, you'll see Daijun Edwards, Kendall Milton, Kenny McIntosh, James Cook, and of course, Zamir White. And this is all what's left because Zach Evans was going to be in this class. Actually, he was in this class. He signed his national letter of intent. So he had also secured the top running back in the country for a time before he let him go or Evans asked to be let go. Now, fast forward just a few months, JT Daniels enters his name into the transfer portal, and we're all thinking about Tennessee. We're thinking about Texas Tech. We're even thinking about Mississippi State, which I want to get into at one point. But what happens is he gets Jamie Newman to grad transfer from Wake Forest, and after James Coley gets him on the campus, that's that, right? James Coley is let go so that he can upgrade to go get Todd Monken from the NFL, from Baker Mayfield, Nick Chubb, Jarvis Landry, and Odell Beckham Jr. to call the offense and modernize it in such a way that you don't have to play murder ball at Georgia, and you can put up about 45 points a game with that offense. And then brings in JT Daniels in May in the lead up to June at a time when his class has a class average per player of 95 plus, which is ridiculous, right? Also add in here, look at that quarterback room and what it can look like, not just in 2021, but what it's looked like in the past. Kirby Smart has managed to land Jacob Eason, Justin Fields, Jake Fromm, and now Carson Beck, along with Dwan Mathis, to go with JT Daniels, Jamie Newman, and we think Brock Vandagriff is going to stick. And the way that he's viewed recruiting is kind of like the way that he has viewed coaches. He wants to get as many good players, great players, as he possibly can and let them figure out who's going to play and who's going to play what. He's becoming comfortable with the transfer portal in a way in which he can also sell his program and what his players might be able to do in this program while also selling them on the idea of competition. That is really where Kirby Smart has separated in this conversation because so many kids do what's best for them, which is to say, if I know that I'm going to be the guy, I'm more likely to pick that place. I don't want to come into a situation where somebody's going to try to recruit someone else to try to beat me, even as that's how you build great teams. We don't do that with college football coaches, though, and we could see how the inequities and the fairness of it is kind of moot because it's doesn't matter whether or not it's fair or equitable, whether you agree with it or disagree with it. The fact of the matter is, this is the way it is, And can you succeed in it, right? You don't get anywhere by claiming that the system sucks. You have to work within the system to affect your change personally. Sometimes that means picking a spot where you're not going to be the guy that is challenged. But if you want to play championship football at the University of Georgia, Kirby Smart has said these are the rules, all right? If you're going to run from competition, that's okay. That's fine. Go into the portal, come out at Ohio State, wish you well. Justin Fields takes Ohio State to a college football playoff semifinal. They're within an interception or an incomplete / interception away from winning that game against Clemson. He's a Heisman finalist, and they're in the catbird seat this year at Ohio State. Fact of the matter is, Georgia wouldn't see Ohio State again until they play in the college football playoff, if they did, or in the national championship game, right? It gets a little bit more interesting when we're talking about what happens within conference, but that's not what's going on right here. What's going on right here is he went to Wake Forest and took their talisman, store brand Cam Newton, a.k.a. Jamie Newman. He went to USC and took what many people still believe is the more talented quarterback in JT Daniels, who just didn't get an opportunity to play in Graham Harrell's air raid system, and took him away. Former 5-star, dude coming out of modern day, the guy that was playing in front of Bryce Young. Bryce Young, who's at Alabama. Bryce Young, who chose to go to Alabama in large part because he knew he was going to be the guy. Because JT Daniels, Keaton Slovis, Matt Fink, still very much at USC. Say nothing of what Jay Garcia might mean for them, right? Meanwhile, Jack Sears went out the door. And then at Mississippi State, you got KJ Costello coming in. Of course, at Auburn, you have Kalen Newton, who's a preferred walk-on right now as a grad transfer, but I'm sure he's going to be put on scholarship at some point. What I'm saying is, if you're looking at Kirby Smart and you're talking about Georgia football, you're talking about trying to put together the best possible football team. You're treating it like antiques. You're just trying to continue to trade up, and stockpile as many as you possibly can, knowing that your roster is going to look anything like it looked last year or the year after this by the mere fact that kids graduate, kids go to the NFL, but also getting comfortable with guys deciding to transfer at semester. We saw at Oklahoma like 9 transfers over the course of about 6 months, right? Some and most were on the defensive side of the ball, right? Because that's what happens when you bring in a new defensive coordinator with a new scheme. Some of those guys weren't scheme fits. Some of those guys are going to have absolutely outstanding careers. Mark Jackson going to Texas Christian in a grad transfer, I think, is a great move for him. Can't wait to see what it looks like for Addison Gums at Oregon State now that he's going to be eligible. Levi Draper at Arkansas makes them into what I think is going to be a tremendously fun football team in the next couple of years. And now with Georgia, you got a quarterback that's got 3 years to play 3 in JT Daniels. And if he gets immediate eligibility, competes with Jamie Newman for the starting quarterback job, which is going to make either one of them a better quarterback when it's time to go play football. And then you got store brand Cam Newton, who's in it now. This is his last year, right? Also, Carson Beck is going to be learning from all of these guys and going to be that dude I believe is competing with Dwan Mathis for the shot to play. I think Dwan Mathis also could really help them at wide receiver, because if you're looking at that offense and you're looking for a weakness, it's that skill position, right? They're great on the offensive line. Matt Luke's going to take over Sam Pittman's job and his kids, and I think that's going to be okay. The running back group I mentioned how great they are at quarterback. George Pickens has an opportunity to be a star, but you need somebody to counterbalance him. Dominique Blaylock had blown his ACL in November. He might miss the majority of the year. And you got a couple of 4-star wide receivers that you really like in there in this 2020 class and in that 2019 class that I'm sure everybody is going, hold up, RJ, we got talent. I still think you can add more there, right? Because this is what they've also been able to do. Think about Lawrence Cager and what he meant to Georgia. Think about guys like Demetrius Robertson and what he meant going into the transfer portal and signing financial aid agreements. Kirby Smart's not done is the other part of this that I find really interesting, right? And if we know anything about what he learned from Alabama and what he learned from Nick Saban, it is to be cutthroat in this business, because you have to win championships at Georgia, at Alabama, at Florida, at Auburn, at LSU, and you need to do whatever it is that you have to do to secure those championships for your football team and your football program. Otherwise, you're likely to be out on your butt. All right. That is it for me. Deuces.